It was the very witching time of night that Ichabod, heavy-hearted and crestfallen, pursued his travel homeward, along the sides of the lofty hills which rise above Tarrytown, and which he had traversed so cheerily in the afternoon. He had never felt so lonely and dismal. He was approaching the very place where many of the scenes of the ghost stories had been told. In the center of the road stood an enormous tulip tree, which towered like a giant above all other trees of the neighborhood and formed a kind of landmark. As Ichabod approached this fearful tree, he began to whistle. He thought his whistle was answered, but it was a blast of wind sweeping sharply through the dry branches. 200 yards from the tree, a small brook crossed the road and ran into a marshy and thickly wooded glen, known by the name of Wiley's Swamp. To pass this bridge was the severest trial. It was at this identical spot that the unfortunate Andre was captured. Gunpowder came to a stand just by the bridge, with a suddenness that nearly sent Ichabod sprawling over his head. Just at this moment, a tramp by the side of the bridge caught the ear of Ichabod. In the dark shadow of the grove, something huge, red and towering, stirred upon in the gloom. It was a gigantic monster, ready to spring upon the traveler. Summoning up a show of courage, he demanded in stammering accents, "Who are you?" He received no reply. He repeated his demand in a still more agitated tone. Still, there was no answer. Just then, Gunpowder took off in a burst of speed. The shadowy object, which was in the middle of the road, followed by in his blind spot closely. Ichabod quickened his speed in hopes of leaving the stranger behind. However, the stranger quickened his horse to an equal pace. Suddenly, Ichabod pulled up and fell into a walk, thinking to have the stranger lag behind, but the other did the same. Finally, Ichabod could see the figure of the stranger. He was horror-struck on perceiving that the figure was headless. They had now reached the road which turns off to Sleepy Hollow. But just as he had gotten halfway through the hollow, the saddle fell off. An opening in the trees now cheered him with the hopes that the church bridge was at hand. Another convulsive kick in the ribs, and old Gunpowder sprang upon the bridge. He thundered over the resounding planks and gained to the opposite side. And now Ichabod cast a look behind to see if his pursuer would vanish. According to the rule, in a flash of fire and brimstone. Just then he saw the goblin rising in his stirrups, and in the very act of hurling his head at him. Ichabod tried to dodge the missile, but it was too late.